If you want cheap Microsoft points and game codes, check out g2a.com, link is in the description below.
Hey guys, it's Melvin7 here, and today I'm bringing you the penultimate episode of my BPL predictions. It's match day 37, so it's the second last BPL week. Now, the scores are unbelievably close. The mystery C is on 153. I am on 152. I'm 1 point behind. Let's overtake him and take that, I suppose, I don't even know what it is, pride, maybe, I don't know, a trophy, we'll see. Anyway, moving on to the actual predictions. So in game one, we've got Everton, no we don't, that's last week's because I'm an idiot. We've got Southampton against Aston Villa. Now, these two sides, Southampton seem to be slipping away, whereas Aston Villa seem to be coming into form. Southampton, I think, are 7th, and it looks as though Swansea can overtake them this week. We'll get onto that game later, though. Aston Villa, on the other hand, a nice 1-0 win against West Ham. So, for me, if this had been played, like I said last week about whoever Southampton played, if this had been played 2-3 months ago, I would have said a Southampton win. But Tim Sherwood's turned Aston Villa around. Benteke now looks like the lethal striker he was a year ago. And I'm going to say Villa win this 2-1. In the next game, we've got Burnley against Stoke. Another interesting game. Burnley unfortunately relegated, but they did get a win against Hull. So they're playing for pride. And Stoke, an absolute hammering of Spurs. 3-0. Who would have predicted that? Stoke are just so unpredictable. Now, I reckon Burnley will get a point. I don't think there's going to be a lot in this, and I'm literally going to say it's going to be a 1-1 result. I think Danny Ings might get another goal, and I'm going to say Charlie Adam gets another one for fucking Stoke. Anyway, in the next game, we've got QPR, who were also relegated and got absolutely hammered, against Newcastle. Now, these are probably the two worst teams in the BPL on current form, alright? They've been dreadful. Newcastle 1 point in 9 games. QPR relegated, absolutely destroyed by City, and I'm sorry, they've got no fighting spirit in that squad, and they deserve to go down, in my opinion. They really do. They've been beaten far too many times by a considerable amount. I mean, we beat them earlier in the season 4-0. City have obviously won 6-0. There's been a lot of other hammerings, and it's not good for the fans of that club. Newcastle, similarly, they've been beaten so many times recently. They did get a hard-earned point against West Brom, though, and they need another one at least to, they need 3 to make sure they don't get relegated. I don't think that'll happen in this game, though. I think they'll get another point, but not 3. I reckon it's going to be 1-1. In the next game, we've got Spurs against Hull. Spurs, honestly, they just don't want Europa, do they? Like, they're doing everything they can to avoid that 6th place finish, getting battered by Stoke, as I said just before. Hull, on the other hand, losing to Burnley. Now, Hull are in the relegation zone, 18th. They're 1 point behind Newcastle. They have us the week after, Manchester United at home. This game is also, well, this one's away for them, and they need to get a win. They really do. A draw's not good enough because teams above them seem to be doing well, all apart from Newcastle. So, in my opinion, I reckon they're gonna beat Spurs, in my opinion. Honestly, like, Spurs just seem to have given up. I'm gonna say 2-1 Hull. In the next game, we've got Sunderland against Leicester. Both teams have came into form at the right time of the season, especially Leicester. Sunderland getting a very, very lucky win against Everton, but, you know, if you defend well, you get your rewards sometimes, and they certainly did in that game. Looks as though they're safe, but maybe another point just to verify it, and that's exactly what I think they'll get in this game. I'm going to say 2-2, an entertaining 2-2 draw. Leicester have been brilliant as well, only 1 loss in their last 7, I think, against Chelsea, so there's no shame in that. Anyway, the next game, we've got West Ham against Everton. Now, I think Everton are now ahead of West Ham, aren't they? Or they can overtake them if they beat them in this game. Everton, coming off the back of a 6-win streak, they go and lose 2. And I reckon, you know, any other team, and they might extend their losing streak, but West Ham just seem to have given up, alright? They're just crawling to the end of the season. They can't wait for it to finish. Again, there's so many draws that I'm predicting, but I'm going to say this is going to be a 1-1 draw. In the next game, we've got Liverpool, Steven Gerrard's Anfield farewell, against Crystal Palace, the team that destroyed their title hopes last season. Now, this is going to be an interesting game, alright? I do reckon Gerrard's going to get a goal, but I reckon it's going to be a penalty, as that's what he usually scores. No disrespect, but that's generally how it goes, alright? He scored so many penalties in the last 3 seasons. I reckon he will get one in this game, and I reckon because it's Gerrard's last game, you know, the squad will perform. Palace have been decent, but they've lost 4 in a row. They were probably unlucky to lose against us, but they did, so that's 4 in a row. And I think that'll be extended. I'm going to say 2-1 Liverpool. In the next game, we've got Swansea, who've been absolutely amazing, alright? They beat Arsenal 1-0. Sorry about that. And yeah, they did exactly what West Brom did against us. Defended well. Their goalkeeper was on unstoppable form. Former goalkeeper, Fabianski. On the other hand, City absolutely destroying QPR. Aguero hat-trick. You know, where would they be without Aguero and David Silva this season? David Silva got a goal and 2 assists as well. So it's going to be an interesting game. I reckon Swansea can get a point though. But you know what, I'm going to stick to it. I've said so many draws this episode, but I'm going to say it's going to be a 1-1 draw. I reckon Swansea are decent at home. They've been very, very good. And I think earlier in the season, City won this 2-1, but it was a narrow victory. Anyway, I'll save the next game till last because it's the Manchester United versus Arsenal one. The next game then is West Brom against Chelsea. West Brom again have done very well. I was going to say Sean Dice, but now Tony Pulis has done wonders for them. He's managed to stave off relegation. Everyone knows that. Chelsea have won the title. Not really a great deal to play for, but I reckon Jose will get the job done. He might play some youngsters, and I'm going to say this is going to be a 2-0 victory for Chelsea. Even though West Brom being decent, I don't think they're going to care too much, in all honesty, either team. And the second last game, we've got Arsenal again against Sunderland. Now, this game is obviously the midweek game, the catch-up game for playing in the FA Cup, and I reckon, you know, I reckon Sunderland could get something. You look at what they did last season to save off relegation. They beat Stamford Bridge, the only team to do so. Sorry, they beat Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, the only team to do so in the BPL in Jose Mourinho's reign. They also beat Manchester United at Old Trafford back to back. All right, they did that, Old Trafford and Stamford Bridge back to back. They seem to come into some sort of miraculous form to save off relegation. They've done it a couple of seasons in a row now, and I reckon they're going to get a draw. All right, call me biased if you want, but I'm just looking at what's happened previously. All right, Arsenal, their heads will probably be focused on the FA Cup. You look, they've got 4 games to play compared to most teams only having 2. All right, and I reckon they're going to be focused on that FA Cup final. So I'm going to say another draw. I'm going to say it's going to be 1-1. And then in the final game of the final game of the episode, we've got Manchester United taking up Arsenal. Now, as always, I've done a Manchester United preview for this game. If you do want to view that, it'll be on my channel. So I'm not going to say much, but Paul Merson says it's going to be 2-1 to United, and who am I to disagree with Paul Merson? So I'm going to say 2-1 Manchester United. Let's compare my results with the Mystery C's.
Alright, so a lot of different results this week. As I said, he believes that Southampton will beat Aston Villa, whereas I say it'll be the other way around. Burnley Stoke, he says a draw, but he says 2-2, whereas I say 1-1. QPR Newcastle, he believes Newcastle will end their 9-game streak without winning and beat QPR, whereas I say it's a draw. Spurs Hull, he thinks Spurs will win, I think Hull will win. Sunderland Leicester, he believes Leicester will beat Sunderland, whereas I say draw. West Ham versus Everton, we both say there's a win there for Everton. Liverpool, similarly, we think both will beat Crystal Palace. Swansea versus Manchester City, he thinks City will win comfortably, whereas I say it's a draw. We both think Manchester United will edge Arsenal, very, very close there. 3-2 for him, 2-1 for me. And then West Brom Chelsea, we both think Chelsea will win comfortably. He says 3-0 and I say 2-0. And in the final game, I reckon Sunderland will scrape a 1-1 draw, whereas he says they'll absolutely obliterate, well, they'll be obliterated by Sunderland. So let me know your predictions, etc. in the comments. Subscribe if you haven't already, like the video, and yeah, peace.